The number one question I keep hearing about OpenClaw is, can it actually do useful things, or is it all hype? I searched the internet for real use cases of OpenClaw, and I'm going to share 7 of them in this video. And at the end of the video, I'll share an easy way for you to set up OpenClaw for yourself in an easy and secure way. The first use case is overnight coding. So here's this tweet. OpenClaw drove my coding agents after I went to bed last night from 12:30 to 7 in the morning. Much better than a Ralph loop because you don't just give it a prompt about when to stop looping. Instead, I've been delegating management of coding agents to it all day. It knows about the project history, all the headaches, and it drives better than Ralph because it's been watching me all day. So the key takeaway here is that it has better memory of what the user preferences are and what the code base is. And we can see here a screenshot from this user's OpenClaw where it says overnight, it fixed 5 bugs and deployed to maybe their code base. The next use case is automating real life errands. I'm going to show you 2 examples that I found for this. This user says their OpenClaw managed to order things itself from their supermarket. When their cleaning lady sent them a message, it logged in using shared credentials and 1Password, then waited for the old style text message, read it through Beeper iMessage Bridge using MCP. So this has some nice integrations already set up with their OpenClaw. That's something that I've noticed, just the more integrations you have, the more powerful it's going to be. But you do have to be careful about what permissions. It sounds like here it didn't give it access to its full 1Password, but to a shared credentials, which is smart so that it doesn't have full control. And then place the items in the basket. So ordering groceries, pretty cool that it was able to do that. And I think the takeaway for me here is that it can navigate different parts of the web browsing experience and text messaging and different things that a lot of AI agents would otherwise have trouble with. This person looks like buying a car. So they're saying Claudebot is automatically negotiating with multiple dealers for their next car via browser, email, and iMessage. And then there's a result that they posted. Claudebot just saved me $4,200 on a car. So they did this before it rebranded to OpenClaw, but pretty cool that it did this. And hopefully these examples are giving you kind of some ideas of how you might be able to use OpenClaw. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you a really easy way to set up OpenClaw for yourself. So this use case is more of a personal use case. This person built a full weekly meal planning system in Notion. So they said, my wife and I take turns cooking. So we had Crawdad, they call their OpenClaw Crawdad. Master meal plan template for all of 2026, shopping lists sorted by store and aisle, weather forecast, auto updating meal plan, helps plan for good nights for grilling soup, our go-to recipes cataloged by chef. It'll remind me in the morning, evening digest, so I need to plan dinner or grab groceries. I imagine this will save us at least an hour a week. Pretty cool, very interesting use case. And what this is making me think of is how these like package skills that people are putting together could almost be sold as apps. Like this replaces essentially like a cooking app. And this user had put this effort into creating this skill. And imagine if they could sell it and then other people could have this same meal planning ability in their own OpenClaw without having to set it up. So just something to kind of think about. I know there's some marketplaces out there starting to sell skills for OpenClaw. So something to kind of keep in mind as a trend here with OpenClaw and agents. This user wrote about some more business use cases that they're building with OpenClaw. So if we go down to what they wrote about, custom CRM replacement. So they're saying they pay $6,000 and $1,400 for Affinity and Monday.com. They're a VC. And what they did was use OpenClaw to build out pipeline tracking, task management, and Granola integration for their calls. And it looks like over the weekend, they already built a basic version of this. And we can see a screenshot here of their internal Monday.com that their OpenClaw built and is managing. And then they have a couple more examples of portfolio monitoring automation and social media automation, where you can use OpenClaw agents to run business processes like this. And I think this is another example of the skills idea that I talked about in the previous example of packaging these things up and selling them, I think is a really interesting trend. Here's another example. This person, Anita, is using OpenClaw a little differently than most people, she says. So instead of sharing any credentials or giving access to any personal local files, they essentially set up their agent to be a separate person. So they have their own Apple ID, phone number, Google account, and their own Mac Mini. So this allows their agent to create their own accounts on apps like Vercel or Amazon. And then they only share things like reminders or messaging chat or calendar access so that it can communicate, but almost as acting as a different person, or kind of thinking of it as almost an employee that you are giving its own accounts to. I think this is a really smart thing to do, especially for security. If you think about it this way, think about it almost as another person, another employee that you're giving account access to the same way you would if you hired a virtual assistant to work with you. You're not going to necessarily immediately give them access to all of your own personal accounts, but creating them separately, I think, is a really interesting use case, especially for security. Now, on security, giving an email or access to the outside world to any agent, even if it's not your own, can still potentially have security issues. There's prompting injection issues where people could potentially, your AI could receive an email that tells it to share information. And if your AI isn't able to get around that, it could potentially share secure things. So these are things that you need to be aware of when setting up your OpenClaw. I'm going to create another video on security with OpenClaw, so be sure to subscribe to our channel to learn more about that in the future. This last use case I think is really cool. This person installed OpenClaw on a DigitalOcean server in the morning, set it up with Telegram, and it built an app for them via Telegram. So they're able to chat with Telegram and have OpenClaw create an app for them. This is, I think, a really interesting trend as well of being able to chat just back and forth and have the agent build an app, which is different from the way you might be used to building apps with AI on your desktop using Cursor, for example, or using some tools like Lovable. This is taking it to the next level and just chatting and having it build an app and send it to you. So when you're thinking about OpenClaw, there are 5 things that set it apart. One is that it's always on, unlike ChatGPT and Claude, which end when you close the tab. It has multi-channel messaging, so you can message it from Telegram or Slack or wherever you are, you can connect it. It has persistent memory, so it learns your preferences over time. It has local execution, so it can take over a computer or a server and actually take action on that computer or server. And it's model agnostic. You're not logged into one AI provider the way that you are with Claude Code, for example, where you have to use Claude models. You can use any AI model you want. So these are the 5 kind of pillars that set OpenClaw apart and make it really powerful. It's not one of these on its own is cool, but putting them together is what really makes it interesting. So I promised I would give you a really easy way to set up OpenClaw on your own. This is a tool that I came across on X the other day. You can go to tryclam.com. It's a Y Combinator-backed company, and it is a one-click install of OpenClaw, but they promise that it's a secure way to do it. So they have a semantic firewall to try to prevent prompt injection, and your keys are never exposed to AI. So if you want to try out OpenClaw in a hosted and safe way, check out Clam. It seems like an interesting one to check out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment below to let me know what else you want to learn about OpenClaw in the future, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more free content like this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.